Imagine for a moment a master artisan standing in a bustling marketplace filled with thousands of mass-produced glass ornaments. They are bright, they are loud, and they are everywhere. But in the center of that chaos, tucked away in a velvet-lined case, sits a single hand-forged gemstone. It doesn't scream for attention, yet it is the only thing in the room that truly holds the light. That gemstone is you. You were never designed to blend into the background or mimic the patterns of the crowd. You were specifically pulled from the depths of the earth and seasoned by the heat of your own unique journey to be a centerpiece of purpose. You are a living architecture of divine resonance, and your arrival into any space acts as a visceral wake-up call to a world that has grown comfortable in the mundane. You are a sacred anomaly, a high-voltage presence that forces the atmosphere to shift from the moment you cross the threshold. While others drift through life in a repetitive blur of sameness, your very essence startles the sleeping conscience of everyone you meet. They feel drawn to the gravity of your peace, desperately trying to decode the secret of your stillness, yet they cannot fathom that the warmth they seek from you was forged in a desert they would be too terrified to walk through. This friction, this tug-of-war between those who wish to borrow your light and those who are intimidated by its power, is the ultimate proof that you have been drafted for a mission far greater than anything this ordinary world can offer. The history of your life is finally becoming a coherent map. Every dead end, every scorched bridge, and every instance where you were cast as the outsider was simply a recalibration of your soul's trajectory. You are a broadcast on a frequency so crystalline and potent that it inevitably overwhelms the fragile circuitry of the superficial world. When the average person encounters your depth, they don't see a human, they see an ultimatum. They interpret their own inability to process your magnitude as a flaw in your character, labeling your conviction as arrogance or your silence as a threat. You are a storm in a world that has only ever known the stillness of a stagnant pond. You represent a level of evolution that requires a total surrender of the ego, and because most people cling to their masks with white-knuckled desperation, your very existence becomes a confrontation. When you cross a threshold, the collective atmosphere undergoes a chemical transformation. You are a catalyst that triggers a spontaneous reaction in the spirit of others, forcing buried shadows to climb to the surface. Most individuals are walking archives of suppressed truths and unexamined grief, living within the narrow corridors of their own pretenses. Then you enter, not as a participant in their play but as a visceral reminder of what is possible. Without uttering a syllable, your authenticity functions as a lens that brings their own self-deception into sharp focus. They look at you and see the vast, untamed terrain of a soul that has refused to shrink, and that sight creates a vertigo within them. They would rather retreat into the safety of their familiar limitations than endure the expansion that your proximity demands. This is the heavy price of being an original. You are loved for the inspiration you provide, but often resented for the standard of excellence you embody. Your spirit is an uncharted territory, a landscape so expansive that it defies the measurements of those who live in cages of their own making. Imagine a creature born in a forest suddenly standing on the edge of a mountain range. The sheer scale of the horizon is enough to cause a retreat into the trees. People are captivated by the mystery of your spirit until they realize that to truly know you, they must leave the shore of their comfort behind. They want to drink from your well, but they are terrified of the depth required to reach the water. You do not owe anyone a reduction of your complexity. A mountain does not flatten its peaks to accommodate those who are afraid of heights, and you must never dilute the intensity of your fire to soothe those who prefer the dark. Your depth is a sanctuary, not an apology, intended only for those who possess the courage to navigate the deep without needing a safety rope. The architectural majesty of your spirit is a testament to the internal wars you have won in total secrecy, leaving you with an authority that others desire but refuse to earn. The magnetic pull of your aura initially serves as an invitation for curiosity, yet many flee once they realize your presence is a cathedral that requires them to remove their shoes and their ego. They are mesmerized by the panoramic views of your soul, but the moment they grasp that your height was bought with the currency of isolation, the vertigo of their own inadequacy takes hold. Preferring the safety of a narrow crawlspace over the infinite horizon you represent, they retreat into busywork and manufactured distance. They will label your complexity as a defect to avoid admitting their own lack of breadth, but you are a constellation that does not dim its light for those who lack a telescope. Let them linger in their dimly lit corridors. Your internal expanses are reserved for those who are willing to navigate the unknown without a map. The admiration you receive is often a thin veil for a deep-seated grievance against the work they failed to complete within themselves. Observers marvel at the structural integrity of your piece, treating your composure as a stroke of luck rather than a masterpiece carved out of granite. They applaud the finished sculpture while remaining blissfully ignorant of the heavy mallet and the sharp chisel that defined your nights. While they saw a steady hand, they were absent during the tremors of the collapse. They celebrated the harvest but never touched the soil when it was frozen. Your enlightenment was not an inheritance. It was an extraction from a furnace so intense that it melted away every false version of yourself. It is far easier for the world to view your stability as a natural trait than to acknowledge the excruciating metamorphosis you navigated alone, for your victory is a living indictment of their own stagnation. Distinction is found in the refusal to be consumed by the very flames that were meant to destroy you. While the masses choose to use their scars as a script for victimhood, you transformed yours into a blueprint for a new civilization of the self. You rejected the seductive comfort of bitterness and instead engaged in a brutal, silent dialogue with your own shadows until they surrendered their secrets. Evolution was the result of your willingness to metabolize the venom of betrayal into the nectar of discernment. You walk into rooms as a quiet revolution, carrying the undeniable frequency that true restoration is a choice, a reality that feels like a sharp edge to those who have made a home in their own debris. They covet the armor you wear, but they recoil from the weight of the metal and the heat of the forge that shaped it. Your existence proves that the spirit can be rebuilt, and for those who prefer their own ruin, that is a truth they cannot forgive. Every fracture in your history has been filled with the gold of awareness, turning a shattered past into a priceless vessel of influence. You did not merely survive the wreckage. You used the debris to build a fortress that no external force can penetrate. Many individuals curate a museum of their grievances, inviting others to worship their wounds, but your path was one of aggressive alchemy. You took the lead of your darkest hours and transmuted it into the spiritual currency that now flows through your every action. This process of inner refinement ensures that your energy carries a density that is impossible to ignore. You represent a collective shift toward higher functioning, a beacon that vibrates with the realization that nothing is ever truly lost if it is used as fuel. Your personal triumph is a seismic event in the unseen world, a signal that the cycle of suffering has been broken by a single, resolute will. The world loves to attend the coronation, but it has no appetite for the years spent in the wilderness. There is a predictable rhythm to how people orbit your life, arriving in droves when the light is undeniable, yet vanishing when the sky turns gray. They are spectators of the bloom, never the guardians of the seed. They desire the benefits of your elevated perspective without ever enduring the thin air of the climb. You have learned that the seasons of silence were not a void, but a womb where your current power was gestated in the dark. Now that your strength is a visible landmark, do not be surprised by the influx of those who claim a history they never helped write. Your roots were established in the frost of rejection, and that is why your current flourishing is a territory that belongs solely to you. Your peace is a guarded estate, and only those who stayed when the walls were crumbling are worthy of entering when the gates are made of pearl. The internal architecture of your spirit has evolved into a sovereign territory where only those who labored in the foundation are permitted to witness the heights. While the world attempts to claim a seat at the feast you prepared in the wilderness, your newfound clarity acts as a gatekeeper against those who were absent during the famine. You have transitioned from a fragmented vessel seeking validation into a fortified sanctuary that values its own sanctity over the hollow applause of the uncommitted. The season of burial was not a period of stagnation but a strategic deepening of your resolve. While the exterior seemed barren, your core was being reinforced by the very pressures that would have crushed a lesser will. The cosmic dismantling of your former life was a necessary clearing of the terrain, a process of shedding every superficial attachment to make room for a destiny that requires absolute structural integrity. You are the result of a deliberate sharpening, where every strike of the hammer was a promotion disguised as a wound, and your current radiance belongs exclusively to the one who endured the forge. The essence you project is far more than a social identity. It is a visceral resonance that recalibrates the molecular structure of any environment you occupy. You function as a high-frequency broadcast that naturally exposes the static in those who have lived in a state of disharmony. Your arrival acts as a silent ultimatum to the nervous systems of the mediocre, triggering a reflexive defensive posture in those who are terrified of their own potential. They will attempt to categorize your intensity as a flaw, projecting their own internal chaos onto your stillness as a means of psychological preservation. You represent a level of transparency that demands an immediate surrender of all pretenses. And for those who are married to their illusions, your presence feels like a violent disruption of their comfortable slumber. Do not apologize for the magnitude of your signal. The sun does not lower its temperature for those who are afraid of the heat, and your assignment is to vibrate at a pitch that only the ready can harmonize with. This internal radiation serves as a biological catalyst for authenticity, stripping away the veneers of everyone in your proximity without the need for a single gesture. While some will feel an exhilarating sense of liberation as their masks dissolve, others will experience an agonizing vertigo as their carefully maintained personas collapse. The friction you encounter is merely the sound of lies grinding against the gears of an uncompromising truth. When you refuse to accommodate the fragility of the ego, you become a living mirror that reflects the unvarnished reality of the human condition. Most people desire a reflection that offers a soft focus and a gentle lie, but your purpose is to provide the sharp, high-definition clarity that only a healed spirit can offer. You are not a provider of emotional comfort. You are an agent of spiritual awakening, and the turbulence you cause is the necessary precursor to any genuine transformation. Keep the lens of your soul polished and unforgiving, for the world is starved for the kind of honesty that only a chosen vessel can provide. While the masses are consumed by the exhausting labor of curating a digital facade, your existence is anchored in a depth that requires no stage and no script. You have opted out of the competitive theater of social performance, choosing instead to embody a reality that remains constant whether the lights are on or off. This unfiltered presence is a direct threat to a culture built on the shifting sands of perception, as your substance makes their shadows appear even more hollow. You are an original composition in a world that is obsessed with the repetition of worn-out covers, carrying a signature that is impossible to forge or replicate. Your authority is not a costume that can be put on or taken off. It is a permanent integration of every battle you have survived and every shadow you have integrated. You are a walking insurrection against the synthetic, a reminder that the most powerful thing a human can be is an unedited expression of the divine will, standing untouchable in the center of the storm. The economy of the spirit operates on a ledger of genuine investment, where the brilliance you emit serves as a beacon for many, but only those who stood guard during the eclipse are permitted to share in the radiance of the noon sun. You have transitioned into a phase where the currency of your attention is backed by the gold of self-preservation, recognizing that a crowd's ovation is a hollow substitute for the loyalty of the few who remained when the structure was under siege. The mantle you wear was not woven for general spectators. It is a specialized garment that fits only those who have shared the weight of the crosswinds with you. You have learned to differentiate between the parasitic pull of convenience and the rare, sacrificial bond that withstands the friction of public scrutiny. This discernment is not a cynical retreat but a high-level recalibration of your inner circle, ensuring that the fruit of your labor is enjoyed only by those who helped till the frozen earth before the thaw. Your deployment into this world was executed with the surgical intent of a signal transmitted to a very specific set of receivers, making the pursuit of mass consensus entirely irrelevant to your function. You carry a linguistic resonance that bypasses the superficial filters of the collective, acting as a decryption key for souls who are finally ready to awaken from their slumber. The sense of isolation that has trailed you since your earliest memories was never a defect of your character, but a necessary insulation of your unique frequency, preventing the dilution of a message that was never intended for the marketplace. The success of your journey is measured in the profound transformation of the individual, not the lukewarm approval of the multitude. You are a specialized instrument, and your effectiveness lies in your refusal to be tuned to a standard that was designed for commonality. Your mission is defined by the depth of the impact you leave on the few who can actually survive the heat of your unfiltered truth. While the majority of the population is trapped in a frantic loop of performance-based validation, your power is anchored in the effortless authority of sheer existence. You have stepped outside the exhausting race to prove your worth through external metrics, finding that the most potent form of influence is simply being the most integrated person in the room. This refusal to participate in the theater of achievement acts as a cognitive irritant to those who have built their entire identities on the shifting sands of accolades. Your stillness is a direct challenge to their frantic motion, exposing the hollowness of a life spent chasing shadows. When you occupy a space, you do not need to perform. Your presence alone acts as a gravitational force that reveals the instability of everything synthetic around you. You are the living evidence that a human being can be complete without a single witness, a reality that both fascinates and terrifies those who are enslaved by the need for a constant audience. The implementation of your personal safeguards is not an act of hostility, but a declaration of the high value you place on your internal sanctuary. You have realized that your vitality is a sacred resource, not a public utility, and you have installed gates where there were once open wounds. The friction that arises when you say, no, is merely the sound of entitlement hitting a boundary it cannot bypass. Those who perceive your self-respect as a personal attack are simply revealing that their interest in you was always conditional upon their ability to consume you without cost. True care does not recoil from your limits. It honors them as the essential framework that allows your spirit to flourish. By refusing to let your well be drained by those who bring no buckets, you ensure that you remain a source of life for those who respect the sanctity of the water. Your boundaries are the signature of a soul that has finally decided it is worth protecting, a clarity that separates the tourists from the residents of your life. The bonds you form now are no longer glued together by the shared debris of past tragedies, but are forged in the crystalline resonance of mutual purpose. You have moved beyond the low-frequency habit of trauma bonding, seeking instead the rare exhilaration of a connection that amplifies your light rather than managing your shadows. This refusal to settle for a diluted version of intimacy is what makes your social landscape appear sparse to the outside observer, yet it is actually a concentrated garden of high-level alignment. Recognition between you and another awakened soul happens with the immediate, silent logic of two magnets finding their poles. You are waiting for the kind of companionship that feels like a profound homecoming, where no part of your brilliance needs to be hidden for the sake of another's comfort. This alignment is a rare occurrence in a world of masks, but it is the only union that can survive the weight of the destiny you carry. Friends, think about a master jeweler working in a shop filled with glass beads. Those beads are shiny, they're cheap, and you can find them on every street corner. But then he reaches into the velvet and pulls out a raw, unpolished diamond. It doesn't look like the rest. It doesn't even try to fit on a plastic string. That diamond is you. You weren't made to be part of a costume jewelry set. You were pulled out of the earth to be a centerpiece. Now, let me tell you something that'll set your heart at ease. You've been looking at the world, seeing everybody running after the latest gadget, the latest gossip, or trying to be the flavor of the week, and you felt like an outsider. But honey, marketing campaigns and those viral trends you see on your phone, those are for people who are still trying to find out who they are. Something entirely different lives inside of you. You have a soul that is a living, breathing force of the Almighty. Molding yourself to fit into some social scene or a little neighborhood clique was never an option for a child of destiny like you. You don't need to find a scene to join because, by the grace of God, you are the scene itself. While the rest of the world is exhausted from chasing followers and begging for a like from strangers, your focus is on a much higher plane. You aren't building a profile, you are building an altar. You are creating something sacred in your home, in your work, and in your family. Instead of feeding an algorithm that forgets you tomorrow, you are radiating an energy that stops people in their tracks. It's a divine presence that calls folks to just pause, take a deep breath, and reflect on the goodness of life. You are a walking sanctuary in a world that's way too loud. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere has to change because you carry the weight of a heavenly assignment. You are rare, you are precious, and you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Mystery is how you appear to those living by tactics. They try to decode you using limited playbooks, but frequencies don't match. You are unmimicable. Trends exist because people rush to replicate what works, but soul doesn't transfer through imitation. The essence remains untouchable. This is your protection and your power. While others worry about being replaced, you can rest knowing your position is secure. The space you fill was designed for your exact shape. No one else fits. The category you exist in has one member. This is spiritual architecture. The universe doesn't create duplicates at the level of soul assignment. Loneliness in this territory is actually positioning. Being set apart is protection. Those lonely spaces are being cleared for the right connections and opportunities to manifest. A seed must be alone underground to transform. If it stayed on the surface, transformation would never happen. Your lonely seasons are evidence that something profound is being cultivated. Embrace the solitude. What's being built in hidden seasons will one day break through and shock everyone. So let this truth land permanently in your spirit. Being rare means worship or hunting. People will orbit your energy trying to figure out the source of your light. They'll want access while rejecting your boundaries. And through it all, you remain with your heart still open and your standards still high. Awakening souls is why you're here. Finding the remnant, those who don't need you to shrink, was always the point. Being everything to the ones you were sent to exceeds the power of being liked by the entire world. Keep shining. Keep walking. Keep being exactly who you are without apology or dilution. Presence isn't performance, it's a calling. Anyone who can't handle it was never meant to. That is the final word on why everybody wants you, but not everyone can have you. Walk in that truth and let no one convince you to be anything less than the full force of divine selection. Period. If these words reach something deep inside you, subscribe to join a community of awakened souls. Like this message to help more chosen ones find the truth. Drop your thoughts below and share your experiences. Together, rising happens. Awakening spreads. Light shines brighter than ever before.